Okay, so I'm here today with Alexandra, who's going to tell us a little bit about her placement year. So I'm going to ask Alexandra to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about what she studied and where she went on placement. So Alexandra.
So my name's Alexandra. I studied economics and I went on placement year at a company called Computacenter.
Thank you. How long ago was that, Alexandra?
So that was in between my second and third year. It was in 2018.
Okay, a couple of years ago you started doing it. Yeah, okay. And you say that was at Computacenter. So that's one of our local companies. Were you placed locally or in London?
No, so I was placed actually in London office, yeah.
Okay. So just thinking about starting that placement and getting that placement, can you talk to us a little bit about the application process and what your thoughts were about applying to that company?
So initially I sort of was quite, I guess, anxious to apply for placements, didn't know what to expect, but I sort of pushed that away and had to really focus on what I really knew I would achieve from gaining a placement. So that's why I signed up to Computacenter, but also it aligned very closely to the experience that I had previously. So in sort of the retail sector, I gained a lot of customer service skills, and that's something that they really wanted and were looking for. So luckily that was quite a good fit. So I applied. There was an advert on the careers website, so I clicked on that and applied through that way. And then I had a sort of mini interview at the university with some of the current placement students. And that went really well. So I got through that stage. And then the next stage was then an assessment day, which was a long day of different events and interviews and team building and working exercises. And then after that, they gave me the call and said that I've got the job.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
And just thinking a little bit before that, how many placements did you apply for, before securing that one?
I guess I've been very lucky because I've heard people applied for quite a few, maybe like 50, 20. But for me, I actually only applied for 3. But what I would say is that I did apply to them very thoroughly. I wasn't sort of just quickly applying for them. I really made an effort to do each one. So hopefully that made my chances a bit better.
And when you say thoroughly, did you get any support or feedback from anybody, either in the university or elsewhere, when you were doing those applications?
Yeah, so I did reach out to the career service to help me with my CV. So they helped me to focus on how I should organise my CV, what sort of information was more relevant, and what placements were looking for in terms of a CV.
So did that change your thinking about how to make an application?
Yes, I'd say so, because I wasn't really aware of what placements required or needed. So it really gave me more of an understanding. And I guess I wasn't at that disadvantage of not having the correct layout of CV than other people might have been if they hadn't gone to the career service.
So if you'd have kind of just carried on your own, it might not have been as finely tuned as if you'd seen somebody here.
Yeah.
Great. So tell us a little bit about your year on placement at Computacenter. How was that for you?
Yeah, so it was a 14-month placement, quite a bit longer than usual. So I was based at the London sites, and I actually had to move to London. I was in like a student accommodation. So that was interesting and a very different change from being in Hatfield and the busy life of London and getting the tube and the train to work. And then being in big offices, I was in Canary Wharf for one of the offices I was in, and then I was in, I think it's sort of near the London Eye, the other office. So yeah, that was really interesting, and just being in a work environment was something to adjust to, but something that I really enjoyed, definitely.
So when you first started there, tell us about kind of your first few weeks. What were you thinking? How were you feeling? What was that like?
Yeah, so the first few weeks are, of course, always a bit intimidating and nerve-wracking, but then it also was where the company really tried to make us feel comfortable. So they spent a week of us getting to know everyone, whether it's the other placement students or introducing us to our managers and people we'd work with. So they did make an effort to make us feel comfortable. So that I would say that definitely worked, rather than us going straight into our office and sort of not having that easing into it.
That makes a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So thinking about having applied for a placement and been through a placement, a longer than normal placement, what would you say would be your top tips for Black, Asian or minority ethnic students just at the starting point, considering whether to do a placement?
I'd say at the starting point, so for myself, I was slightly disheartened in the fact that I thought maybe if I applied to somewhere and they saw that I was Black, or they would have their, I don't know, preconceived ideas, or maybe they wouldn't choose me just on the basis of that. But the thing is, you can't really have that sort of mental thought. You need to be a bit more positive and just think past that and think the right company will actually take you on, no matter about your race or what you look like. If you have the right skill set or they see something in you that they really like, then they will choose you. And doing a placement is such a great opportunity. So it's worth the try.
So it's worth kind of putting your hat in the ring and taking the risk. Yeah,
definitely.
So what do you think are the particular challenges, if any, for BAME students when considering a placement or when actually on placement? Did you notice any particular challenges for you as opposed to other placement students or was it all sort of seamless?
Yeah, so I would say there was a challenge whilst I was on placement. I guess because there are a lot of people that are different than you start to feel like, do I fit in? How do I fit in? But the thing is, I guess I stayed true to myself. I didn't lose who I was, but at the same time, I did really try and network and just talk to people and try to go to different offices, because there will be other people that you'll get along with, or people you have connections to, or people you can listen to their stories and see how they've got to where they are right now. So it's really sort of a positive thing to be yourself and just really get yourself out there. Definitely. Yeah.
And was there anything like a BAME staff network or anything like that at where you were on placement?
No, there wasn't, but it was very multicultural. So there were other people, races that you could connect with. Yeah. Definitely.
So it's kind of more informal.
Yeah.
Support.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've kind of alluded to this, but could you elaborate a little bit more? Looking back, do you feel like your placement was worthwhile? Because sometimes people sort of rule it out because they want to get through their degree and get into the graduate workplace. Would you say it was a worthwhile experience for you taking that year and being in industry for a year?
It was honestly the best decision I made, because in between, before your final year, your final year really counts. That's when you really want to push really hard and get the best grades and get your degree. So for me, it was so good just having a break, because sometimes you just keep on going, and you might even be struggling at university, but the break of the placement year will just give you a completely different perspective and sort of refresh you and really give you the energy and the drive to complete final year to the best of your ability. And so for myself personally, that's what it really did for me, because after second year, my steam was running out a bit. So it was good to actually go on placement year and just have a break, but also work really hard in a different way. The placement year taught me how to write emails really effectively, which brought back to me with my degree, because I was able to write more efficiently my essays and organize myself well, my time management, all those things that whilst you're at university, if you get more efficient at them when you're working, definitely. So yeah, that definitely helped me.
Excellent. So thinking a bit wider than that, what would you say has a placement given you in terms of things to put on your CV? What have been the kind of key skills that you can now prove to a graduate employer that you've got, which you didn't have from part-time work or from study previously? So what are the key skills you gained?
I think it's just the really increase in professional skills. So in retail, it's a professional environment, but being in a massive office and being Canary Wharf really elevated my skills. So whether it was interpersonal, communication, teamwork, even the practical things that I actually did within my job were really relevant and really were able to explain and show other employers how I can actually perform those skills well in a office environment, as opposed to like a coffee shop or any other environment.
So you've kind of got good examples to put on your CV and talk about at interview that prove teamwork, that are office and professional environment related. Is that it? Yeah. Super. So what were the biggest differences then in thinking about that between being in a professional workplace and being in maybe a retail or a catering environment, part-time work? What did you notice in terms of culture, the work culture? What was the difference there?
I guess there's more of a relaxed element to sort of retail or catering, whereas at work it's more you're switched on all the time. You have to be a bit more dynamic. Someone might be asking you to do that, another person might be asking you to do something else. You have to do things within a time frame. So it just makes you more of an efficient person, even getting up early to make sure you're on time for work and organizing yourself so you can finish at the right time each day. It's not really even comparable. It's very different. It's another level of professionalism that you might not gain in those other jobs.
So you spoke about being kind of asked to do several really different tasks all at the same time, rather than it being sort of a straightforward task that you repeat. You're having to keep a lot of plates spinning, aren't you?
Yeah.
And deadlines as well, that I think is probably a professional environment.
Yeah.
Meeting deadlines.
Definitely, yeah.
And then thinking about being in that workplace with all those different teams that you have to interact with and different people. Tell us a little bit about the people that you met on placement and any network that you built up, if at all. Are you kind of in touch with people? Does it help you in terms of networking for graduate roles later on? Talk a little bit about the people involved.
So I got on really well with my managers and other people that I'd connected with in other social environments, and they were just really helpful in encouraging me to keep going, telling me I'm doing a really good job in my placement, and really reminding me that I am really valuable, and companies that if I find the right company, I would really fit in there and do a good job there. I think it really gave me sort of the comfort and the reminders that I am doing really well and I should keep going. And I remember saying to my colleagues that when I get back, I really want to get a first class degree, and then I ended up getting one. So yeah, it was
excellent news. So it gave you confidence and a bit more self-assurance, and sort of confirmed to you that you are able to do a good job, and that you can then present that to somebody else, another employer, that you've done a good job. Yeah, I think a lot of students come back a lot more motivated and confident, don't they? Super. Okay. Just finally, yeah, my last question, I think you've answered that actually. I was going to ask you, what was the impact on your final year of having done a placement?
Yeah.
Is there anything beyond getting a first? Did you do anything differently in final year?
I think I just changed as a person. I just became way more efficient with my time, where I put my energy, how well I write. In so many different aspects, I really sort of progress as a person. And I think that really helped me in final year. I really reached out to my lecturers more, built up a good relationship with them, which obviously helps with your work. You can ask them questions. You're not as afraid to talk to, I don't know, older people maybe. So yeah, it really gave me just the energy, the confidence, and the understanding of like life a bit more to just do well in my final year. So it's I really would recommend a placement to anyone who's considering it because it really, what you gain out of choosing to do it is it's amazing compared to carrying on in your final years, if you can, and if you get a placement.
Fabulous. Thanks ever so much for your time. I hope that's really helped thinking about whether or not to, and really helpful to hear your story, such a positive story and such a positive outcome. So thank you ever so much for your time, Alexandra.
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks.